My name is Rachel Doherty, and I am manager of the Professional Technical Contracting Unit at the Office of State Procurement, otherwise known as the PT Unit. This is a walkthrough of the Professional Technical Certification Form, which we will call the CERT form throughout this training. What is the PT CERT form? It is an internal form an agency fills out at the beginning of the contracting process. It contains space to provide information required by statute and policy to proceed with the following contracts: PT contracts over $25,000, joint powers agreements, otherwise known as JPAs, over $25,000, single source contracts over $5,000, and the CERT form accompanies requests for proposals, single source justifications, PT contracts, JPAs, and amendments when they require a PT signature. The PT unit will view the certification form throughout the life of the contract. What is the purpose of the CERT form? Agencies must fulfill requirements of Minnesota Statute 16C08. The CERT form is usually the first document type an agency sends to the Office of State Procurement as they start the RFP or contracting process. It provides the Office of State Procurement general information about the potential contract. It serves as a roadmap for procurement and resulting contract, and it gives agencies an opportunity to think about critical things like budget and contract monitoring. While it may feel like quote-unquote another form, it is an important document that provides valuable information that we will use throughout the contracting process. It is an opportunity to take a big picture look at your project, account for goals, plan on management and monitoring techniques, and grasp what your project looks like from start to finish. Getting started with the CERT form. The most current version of the CERT form is located on OSP's website in the secure area under the certification forms categories. Most agencies have access to these forms through your PT coordinator, on your agency's SharePoint, or you yourself have access. If you need access and do not have it, instructions are located on our website. The certification form contains 5 sections: instructions, background, vendor selection method, accessibility, and agency certifications. Each section has a separate focus. Consider all of them and their purpose carefully as you fill out the document. Section 1 contains instructions. It has a checklist and advises when and how you should submit the CERT form. You should note the different types of documents it is required for, which are listed at the top of the document. And then also the checklist is a little different now that we are paperless. You will use DocuSign or Swift to submit your certification form for signature. Section 2 contains background information. The first section is for funding. There is a blank for dollars for your initial contract term, plus a blank for the total dollars for the entire anticipated length of the contract. There also is a blank for you to indicate whether you are using federal or state funds. Special requirements may kick in if you are using federal funding. Next is the contract period. The contract period is an estimate, and here's a reminder that the initial contract term cannot be over 2 years unless you list a justification on the certification form. PT contracts are limited to 5 years total unless you get a specific and special exception from admin and MMB. The next session is for special legislation. Minnesota Statute 15.061 is cited, and this is the general authority all state agencies have to enter into PT contracts. You may have a specific statute which is relevant as well. This is where you should include it. Then last are the specific 16C08 certifications. The contract must align with your agency's mission. We would not expect to see the Department of Human Services doing remediation of contaminated soil, as that is the job of the Pollution Control Agency. We also want to hear about your notification plans. It is expected that you advertise beyond the OSP website, Swift, or state register. Tell us how you will do that here. And then last is how you will manage and monitor the contract. It is important to think about that now, as you will want to let responders know what is expected of them in the RFP. Section 3 contains vendor selection methods. We want you to identify how the vendor will be selected. You should choose one method and complete the selected section. Methods are public solicitation, and this is what you will choose most of the time. There's also space to indicate if you want an exception to 30% going to cost. Exceptions are rare in this area. Next is single source. If you are doing a single source, you must also fill out a justification form that will accompany your cert form. Last is a joint powers agreement. We want you to share how you came to this decision to use another governmental unit to do this work. Section 4 is for accessibility. If accessibility applies, you need to fill out the section. In some projects, accessibility plays a larger role in the RFP, and you must account for your need here. If you are unsure, you should consult your agency's accessibility coordinator or the Office of Accessibility Services at Minute. Almost all information technology projects are going to involve accessibility. Please do not leave it out. Section 5 contains more agency certifications. These agency certifications are required by Minnesota Statute 16C08, Subdivision 2. In addition to agreeing to items 1 through 9, agency must complete item 1, which pertains to state employees being able or available to do the work, or if there are other ways to accomplish the work. In item 3, you will identify who will be managing the contract. And then in item 8, you have to consult the agency seniority list, which is typically held by Human Resources. Make sure you plan the time to do this. And then last part is signatures. We do not need all of the signatures listed. The required signatures are someone at your agency with the authority to sign, Minute if information technology is involved, and the PT unit. Other signatures are at the discretion of your agency. What does the PT team look for when reviewing the cert form? First, we look to see if the form is accurate, complete, and in alignment with the stated goals. Then we want to make sure the agency is following the proper process. The proper process means that you are using the right solicitation method for the dollar level of your project. We may suggest alternatives if appropriate. As a whole, we want to make sure that the procurement makes sense. And then we want to see that information completed on the certification form aligns with the request for proposal, single source, or joint powers agreement. We look for alignment between the documents. Different dates, dollar levels, they could be just a typo, but we want to make sure that we have the correct information. And then we are going to look for the proper required signatures. Here are common issues with the cert form. Common issues that will result in the PT unit returning the certification form for correction are sections are skipped or not completed, questions are not answered fully, answers to the questions do not make sense, it lacks justification for more than a 2-year initial term extensions are not listed or do not match the term extensions listed in the RFP, the information completed does not align with the RFP, accessibility was not completed when the subject matter is IT work, and Minute has not reviewed or signed when the subject matter is IT work. If you have any feeling at all that this may be information technology, then you should consult Minute. It is better to involve them early and find out that it is not necessary than to get too far down the road without them. Here are some helpful reminders. The cert form gives agencies an opportunity to think about the RFP and contract in a meaningful way. The cert form is consulted over and over again throughout the life of the contract. The term and dollar amounts are estimates. We understand that you are doing this before you have responses to your RFP and you may not know exactly how much it will cost or how long it will take. The certification form does not need to be amended. Instead, changes are documented in other forms like the amendment cover sheet. If something changes with your project, like you need more time because of things outside of your control, you do not change the cert form. Instead, you explain an amendment cover sheet, which is another internal form. The cert form is your best estimate at the time of your RFP. The PT unit understands things can change. Here is how you submit the cert form. Once complete, including agency signature and Minute signature, if applicable, send to the admin PT via DocuSign to Professional Technical Admin OSP Signing Group for signature and include osbhelp.line@state.mn.us for text box under signature for logging. You can also submit your cert form and accompanying documents in Swift. There are other certification forms that you should be aware of. On the secure area of our website, you will find a master contract certification form, an Equity Select quick call cover sheet, which is another form of a cert form, a work order certification form, and you should know that the same general guidelines for certification forms apply to all of these, but different kinds of documents will accompany them. If you still have questions, please feel free to reach out to the PT team at pt.contracts@state.mn.us. Thank you for taking this training.